I learned very quickly that you cannot green smoothie your way out of chronic stress. You can't bathe in a bunch of green smoothie and expect to change the way that you operate. I feel so often that this modern world lends to this very fast-paced kind of survival syndrome that we fall into. And we're going to talk about how to leverage oils for that. But that was why oils had come into my life. I was looking for something that could help manage the stress, help manage those emergency moments where you're feeling triggered, you're scrolling through Instagram, someone texts you, or you're in your email, or maybe you're having a conversation with a family member and you just feel overwhelmed by those moments, because it happens all the time.
The Vidal Speaks podcast.
Episode 124, Mariza Snyder, Everyday Uses for Essential Oils. Welcome to Vidal Speaks. My name is Deborah Vidal, former 11-year LPGA golf pro turned classical homeopath, certified plant-based nutritionist, and wellness coach. Each week here on Vidal Speaks, we bring you knowledge, inspiration, or natural remedies to help you take charge of your health and feel your best. I believe health is freedom and knowledge is power, so tuning in each week will give you the power to take steps towards freeing yourself from the chains that hold you back from having the energy to do all you want in life. No matter where you are in your journey of wellness, Vidal Speaks can help. I promise. Hey there, my friends. How you doing today? I hope great. Other than the weather in the many places around the world where we're all gathering from today, we too have had amazingly drastic and intense weather here in California. Rain, 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 and more rain. I wake up thinking we live in Germany, not California. Last night it was 38 degrees and the high was even 47. Now, where's that California sun we're all paying so much money for, right? But I can tell you that it's so beautiful and green outside. Amazing what nature's water and sun can do in a short time. But this is so extreme, and with the climate crisis, it's only going to get worse. Already the minus 60 below in some places in America. Geez, that was shocking. And then the tornadoes and the floods, and now the rains here on the West Coast. I pray every day for the people who need to wake up and make decisions to take action in saving our environment, that they'll wake up and start. We all have to do our part, and I'm sure trying to do my best. Speaking of nature, which I love, today's show is about a specific kind of nature's medicine. I tell you all the time that nature has given us everything we need to get well and to heal. It's been a long road to learn all this stuff, because along the way, for me, I have to realize what works and what doesn't. And one of my very early healing tools that I fell in love with was essential oils. I love them because they're easy and you can use them in so many ways, such as in your baths, or you can put them directly in your skin when you apply them in carrier oils, or you can diffuse them into the air, which I love to do because they smell so good. And you can even ingest them in recipes or medicinally in capsules. Essential oils are easy, but many people fear to start because so many books out there, they talk all about all these healing properties that they have, and in the end you feel overwhelmed. You read about 30 oils and they're all antibacterial and you don't know what to do, and so then you just don't start. And there's so many different oils, you don't know where to start, right? Baby steps, remember? We need to think through these things simply, especially when we start. But essential oil should be part of everyone's wellness kit. Like herbs, many oils are better when they're combined with a few other oils in one bottle, because then they cover the whole state of the person. And not only do you get these amazing smelling concoctions, but they're medicinally very powerful too. So today I think you're going to love this show because my guest is Mariza Snyder, and she makes using essential oils simple. I promise you, after today, you're going to want to start using them. I think the easiest way is to buy one of her books just to get started. But today she's going to be talking about her new book that just came out this week, which is called The Essential Oils Hormone Solution. Okay, guys, don't hit that stop button. This is not just for women, I promise. But how cool for all you women out there that are having hormone symptoms, right? And you get to see how easily you can make formulas to help with many of these hormone imbalances that women go through from the age of 20 and on. But guys, it's not just women that are stressed, and it's not just women that feel anxiety or fatigue or have headaches. Sometimes they title a book because they want a little niche in the market, but Mariza's books are for everyone. My favorite one so far, before this newest one that she just came out with, is called Smart Mom's Guide to Essential Oils. And I'll tell you what, I would never have thought I would love this book because I'm a non-mommy, but it's really like what I told you. It's just simple, and she teaches you 10 or 12 oils, and she shows you how to use them in so many ways. And it's not just for mommies, but you know, publishers want to have a niche in the market, so they name books a certain title. But I promise you, you'll love that book. All of her books are going to allow you to feel confident and get a great feel for how fun essential oils are and how easy they are to use and how much you can do with them in the house, whether it's treating a cold or a cough or an ache or a pain or an infection. From doing that to using them to clean in your house or to disinfect in your house, or even adding them to recipes or drinks for great flavors. The uses are many and the rewards are even more. So be sure to pick up this new book or one of her others and get started incorporating oils into your wellness routine. They're really fun and they're easy. You guys gotta try them because now is the time. You're gonna be motivated after this interview. Okay, now before we go speak to Mariza, you guys know before I do that, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about her. Here we go. Mariza Snyder is a passionate functional wellness practitioner and a public speaker committed to inspiring people to live a healthy and abundant life. She graduated cum laude from Life Chiropractic College West in 2008. She has a background in biochemistry and certifications in nutrition and aromatherapy. Dr. Mariza Snyder calls herself a functional practitioner, and she is the author of 7 books, which includes her newest book that focuses on balancing hormones with the power of essential oils. It's called The Essential Oils Hormone Solution. For the past 10 years, she has lectured at wellness centers, conferences, and corporations on hormone health, essential oils, nutrition, and detoxification. She has been on the Dr. Oz Show, Fox News Health, Mind Body Green, and many other publications. Dr. Mariza is also the host of Essentially You podcast, designed to empower women to become the CEO of their health. Check out our website, guys, drmariza.com. That's drmariza.com for women's health and women's hormone tips, including recipes and remedies. Okay, you guys ready? This is going to be a fun one, but you may want to get your pen and paper and jot down a few of the recipes that she's going to tell us today. All right, here we go. Hello, Mariza. I'm so happy to have you on as my guest because I love essential oils and I want you to teach our listeners about how to use them. So welcome to the Vidal Speaks podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's really fun that you're writing these books on essential oils because you make them practical for people. And I know you do a lot of work with women, but we're going to include everyone in some of the show today. So I want some tips for the men and the guys too, okay?
Sounds good. Luckily, a lot of the things that women need, men need as well.
That's
Like
true.
everyone's exhausted.
Yeah, that's true. And everyone's stressed.
And everyone's stressed and everyone can't sleep well and so they
Yeah.
translate.
Okay, good. And let's get to those issues because those are so common. I know from 25 years of being a homeopathic practitioner, those are really things you hear in everybody, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So let's first start because for my listeners out there that don't know you, I know as people who are healers, they always have a story behind their story. What got them to this point? So can you tell us about how you got on this journey of wellness and especially with the essential oils?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my first journey was when I was really young. I had chronic migraines for 15 plus years, and I was told by many, many doctors that I was simply going to have to live with that condition, with chronic pain for the rest of my life. And I had resided to that. I remember I was 24. I started working as a biochemist at 22 right after college, and I still was plagued with migraines. But a really wonderful fellow scientist in my lab had recommended me to a functional practitioner. And at the time, in 2000 and, oh gosh, when was that? 2002, 2003, 2004, there were no such things as functional practitioners yet. We didn't have a word for that.
Right.
But that's exactly what it was. And I was migraine free after 3 months of being under care, and it completely flipped my paradigm. I was like, well, what? You're telling me I don't have to be on these pain meds anymore? My body could heal. I was just blown away. And it shifted a lot of the trajectory of my life and my career. I really wanted to focus more on holistic medicine, functional medicine, integrative medicine.
Okay, and before you even go on there, because a lot of people don't even know about functional medicine, they're really different because, as you said, they haven't been around a long time. And I know about them, but a lot of our listeners don't. So they really work a lot with balancing your hormones and nutrition stuff. But maybe you could give just a little minute here and then go on with your story.
Absolutely. So basically, the true concept of functional medicine or integrative medicine is really getting to the root cause of the issue. So for example, let's say you've got Hashimoto's. I have Hashimoto's, so I'll give myself as an example. And it's one thing to treat the thyroid, but I'd love to really know what's causing the immune system to attack the thyroid. And that's what a functional doctor would do, is they wouldn't just give you thyroid medication to kind of help support the thyroid. They would actually just, figure out, is it a hidden infection in the gut? Is it stress? Is it liver issues? Like, what is it that's actually causing the immune system to respond in such a way? Because unless we get the immune system back on track, we're going to continue to come up against the same issue over and over and over again, even if you're just taking thyroid medications. Whereas with conventional medicine, they see labs are off. They're going to recommend something for that lab, but they're not actually going to get to the root cause of what's going on. So guess what? You could take those meds for 10, 15, 20 years, and most likely what you're going to see is a continued decline in thyroid function due to the fact that you never actually got to the real problem.
Right. That's a good explanation. Okay. Thank you for that. And so after that point then, when you were cured from your migraines, then you fell in love with functional medicine. You decided you were going to do that, or did it take some more time of being sick before you got there?
No, I was on the train because I was heading off to medical school, and I was like, whoa. So I made a major U-turn because I was realizing that medical school was just going to lead me down a path of the direction that I had been gone down since I was young, and that just wasn't the path that I wanted to bring to the world. So it changed my path a bit, not too much. I still knew I wanted to serve people. I wanted to take care of people in a holistic manner. But I have always been a massive overachiever. I had this underlying belief mindset, and I think that a lot of women feel this way, at least the women I talk to, in that our worth as women is really predicated on how much we can do for other people. So I was very dutiful. I was very much living in a world of other people's obligations, and I basically burned myself into the ground at a young age. Late 20s, early 30s, I had horrible chronic fatigue. My hormones were completely whacked out. I was putting on weight for what was no reason. Horrible. My migraines were coming back again because of the estrogen issues that I was having. And so I really just found myself kind of in the bigger health crisis of my life. And when I looked around and saw my patients, I began to realize that so many of the women that I was taking care of they were really dealing with the same thing. And at that time, I noticed that in the world of women's hormone health, that there wasn't a lot of options. Basically, I went back to a conventional doctor just to see what they had for me and to run tests, because you should never diagnose yourself. I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
So I go somewhere else. But I wanted to go get tests done, and they were, I'll be honest with you, they were cheaper to run them through there. So, but what was recommended to me was birth control and anti-anxiety medication. And so I just realized that there was no true integrative plan out there. It just wasn't very clear as to what to do to solve my hormone issues. So I put my biochemistry research hat back on. I really started to dig into the research of how we could heal women. And oils in that journey over the course of about 4 years came into the picture. But initially, it was really about nutrition, supplementation, self-care, and changing the belief mindset that we had around what we deserved for our bodies and how we deserved to heal our bodies. So those were the big things that I discovered in my early 30s. And then oils came into the mix about 4 years later.
Well, that last one that you're talking it's just so huge. I mean, take everything else and put it aside and just talk about the mindset behind health problems. That's not only just the life work, but look how many people I've interviewed in it. I know you have a podcast and we'll talk about that later, but I know you must have interviewed a lot of people too. Look how many people have gotten others well and they know so little about health, but they do work on the mind, right?
Absolutely.
Like for instance, I interviewed this guy, Dr. Hanscom. He's a surgeon, really, really, really big, well-known surgeon that deals with spines, and he's getting all these people well. He's actually now retired from doing surgery because he stopped doing surgery because he can get people well by changing their belief system. How great is that? And this is a spinal surgeon, right?
Yeah, an orthopedic surgeon, absolutely. And orthopedic surgeons, I think of orthopedic surgeons as carpenters. They're really designed to kind of put the body back together, the bones back together. I have a lot of friends that are orthopedic surgeons, and it's very much like carpentry. So it's very interesting when they have that kind of engineer mindset to have someone skip into the realm of belief mindset, not just putting people back together.
Right. And then there's people like Bernie Siegel who I've interviewed, and look how long he's done his work in the field of helping people just to learn to find joy and happiness, and many of them cure themselves of cancer. So this is a big job, but today we're going to talk about the little bit easier part, and that's
easier.
the things that we can actually do, like the nature's medicine, which I love, the herbs, the plants, the oils, the homeopathy, all this wonderful thing that puts the body back in balance. And essential oils, I've used them for so many years and I love them so much, and you can just keep learning. They're so fantastic. So I'm anxious and curious to hear your story when you discovered them. How did you discover them, and how did you begin to use them?
Well, you know what I said, we talked a little bit about that belief mindset. When I was really first healing my body, I got introduced to green smoothies. I got introduced to such powerful nutritional plant medicine. But I learned very quickly that you cannot green smoothie your way out of chronic stress. You can't bathe in a bunch of green smoothie and expect to change the way that you operate. I feel so often that this modern world lends to this very fast-paced kind of survival syndrome that we fall into. And we're going to talk about how to leverage oils for that. But that was why oils had come into my life. I was looking for something that could help manage the stress, help manage those emergency moments where you're feeling triggered, you're scrolling through Instagram, someone texts you, or you're in your email, or maybe you're having a conversation with a family member and you just feel overwhelmed by those moments, because it happens all the time. The environment is coming at you one way or the other. And there's a lot of things we can do. You can break up with toxic people. You can end toxic relationships. You could choose not to get into your phone or into your computer for the first hour of the day. There are some things that you can do to create habits around it. But what if someone throws you just off guard? Because that happens. It happens all the time. And to have a tool like an essential oil that can really move the needle for you in that moment, I think is so profound.
Yeah, and I also believe, there's certain personalities and constitutions that tend to become more easily anxious or more easily angered or more easily frustrated or whatever that is. And so, yes, you can certainly set up your lifestyle to handle things and become doing meditations and relaxations. And as you said, making sure you get enough sleep and all those things. But the reality is every day there's something. Every day something comes at you, or some days it's big things, some days it's big emergencies, and some days it's just little things. And the oils are so good for that because big or little, they're there and they're so easy.
They are, and that's what I love about them. So here's how I started. As I was telling you a little bit about my story and the stress that I was dealing with, and I don't know if I've always been hardwired towards stress. I've definitely always been hardwired as an A-type personality. So I'm always like, oh, bring it on. Let's just add more to that big old platter of mine. And have created lots of wonderful things because of it. But I've definitely burned myself into the ground. So I have to be so mindful because I feel like that's still my default mode. Well, when I was introduced to the oils, a dear friend of mine who I just love and adore, she had noticed that I was getting sick. Colds, flus, strep throats, any environmental threat I was the perfect host for. I was getting sick in practice probably 7 to 10 times a year.
Wow.
I miss a lot of practice. I mean, you can't really take care of patients when you're not well yourself. And that was really what was happening for me. And I was really frustrated by it. I was doing all the vitamin C, all the echinacea. I was taking a lot of tinctures. I was doing my yoga. But it was the one thing that I still felt I was struggling with. It was this kind of haywired immune system. So she had come to me with a blend. It was this beautiful immune system blend. And she was like, listen, I am so sick and tired of you being sick and tired all of the time. I've got this blend. I think it's going to work for you. You just got to be consistent with it. And I was like, at this point in my life, I was like, I'll do anything to not be sick multiple times a year. So I started using this oil, and it had clove and eucalyptus and lemon and cinnamon and rosemary, and all kinds of amazing immune system boosting oils, and oils that are antiviral, antiseptic, antimicrobial. And so I began to use this, and it was so funny because I honestly, even with my biochemistry background, I really didn't have a lot of research in oils just yet. I was kind of a patient at the time with her. And I was like, I'm just going to use this any kind of way. I was putting it in tea. I was diffusing it. I was putting it on my feet. I mean, I was literally dousing myself with this oil. And I probably overused it, and we can speak to that as well. But 3.5 years later, I did not get sick one time.
Wow.
Not once. And
that's great.
Shifted everything, because I don't know anybody in this world who wants to get sick, like not once. So, and I haven't been sick. My husband and I haven't been sick in over 2 years, at least. Maybe in the last 6.5 years that I've been using oils, I've had a cold or something like that, maybe 5 times. And so definitely less than once a year, probably once every 2 years or so. So it changed my life in that way. So I decided to do some research. I really wanted to know what was up with these oils, what was up with these beautiful aromatic compounds, what else could they do? And I began to realize not only could they make a non-toxic home for you, they could make over your entire medicine cabinet. So if you were to come to my house today, you're not going to find anything over the counter inside of my medicine cabinet. We literally rely on essential oils. Like my husband had a canker sore, essential oils. I got a cut, essential oils. I was dealing with stress. I was using essential oils. I mean, name it. It's the first thing we're grabbing. Someone doesn't feel well, there's an oil for that in the house somewhere. It's just a matter of figuring out what room it's in. And that's how we've created it. And when I realized that I could leverage these oils for self-care, for emotional well-being, for stress, for sleep, I really felt like I had a solution for a lot of the common symptoms that were coming up for women and men, both anyone who were struggling with their hormones. And that's kind of where the new book had come to fruition, was really exploring that topic.
Yes, because your new book is about using essential oils to help women balance their hormones. But before we even talk about that, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Because I know, a lot of people are interested. In a lot of my clients, I told them and recommended some oils over the years, and I've certainly used them a lot in many different ways myself. But I think what's difficult, and maybe you could give us some suggestions about this, when you're this type A driven and you go do a lot of research, and in the end you come up with this idea of which ones to use for what, and this is good for stress and this, but the average person can feel so overwhelmed from the information out there. And one of the things that I've found about oils, it's really difficult, and it's the same with herbs too, because there's so many different sites and so many pieces of information, and a lot of times they list them as antimicrobial or antibacterial or immune boosting or whatever they want to say, but then you just get lost. And I think so many people run away from things because it's just it's too much and they don't know. It would be so much easier for many people out there if they could make it more usable, and I know that's why your books are popular, because you've done that. But I'm wondering, like, just if a person can't sleep or they're stressed and they want to go look up, like, what oil can I take? Is there a great site? Is there an easy book? Which book do you recommend of yours?
Sure.
Are there other books? Because that's where people run away, because they start reading all this stuff. It's too much information, and they don't really say this will help for sleep or this. They give you so many symptoms. So if you look up sleep, you can find 45 oils that have sleep issues.
Right. Well, the cool thing about it, and I'm going to make it as super, super easy, and I'll talk about my first book, that was a thing that came up. I've probably had the opportunity to educate over 1 million people about essential oils over the years, which is such a really wonderful blessing. And one of the things, I had a lot of people concerned, feeling overwhelmed with the content, feeling overwhelmed. How do I use them for my kids versus use them as an adult? What's the dilution? Which ones are safe? Which ones are not? And so my first book is called The Smart Mom's Guide to Essential Oils. And it's not actually a mom's guide. I'm not a mom myself, but the publishers really want to niche things down. And so they were like, I think this is a good name. We could really niche it. But it really was a book for any family or any person in their home who wanted a 101 guide. It reads very simply. It has my top 5 list, my top 25 list, and it gives you recipes for all of the most common concerns anyone would have. So what I did is I had interviewed about 200 plus women and asked them what were their biggest concerns, what were the biggest myths, what were the biggest, just kind of what did they really want to know about when it came to the using essential oils, what was keeping them from using them to begin with. And then I built an entire book on kind of just taking care of all of those questions. So the Smart Mom's Guide to Essential Oils is really what I consider to be one of the best 101 guides out there, because it's the one thing it's not is overwhelming. Thank goodness. So I was like, how do we simplify this? Because there's a lot of reference books out there. They're 300 pages, 400 pages, and they'll have one condition with 20 oils listed underneath it. Doesn't give anyone any direction on what to do. It's very complicated. It doesn't make any sense. And you're just guessing. And so I was like, okay, enough is enough. Basically people said, I do not want to have to guess. I don't want any guesswork. I want to know exactly what to use. And so that's what that book was all about.
And are they mostly the recipe single oils? And do you use that more commonly, or do you do combinations more commonly?
There are a couple. Usually most blends are 1 or 2 oils, 2 to 3 oils rather. I find that blends, people really love the recipes with blends in them. And there are definitely, like when I do my top 25 list, I list all of the number 1 ways to use that very specific oil. But then I also give recipes for age groups. So if someone's looking for neck pain or muscle pain, this is what you would use for, 3 to 5 year olds. This is what you would use for 6 to 11 year olds. So that families had very specific dilutions. So they're like, okay, this is the right dilution for this particular age group. This is what we should. But I have them for allergies. I have them for cuts and scrapes. I guess all the basic kind of first aid stuff that comes up all the time.
Oops, wait. Sorry, didn't realize I had my phone. Jeez, hold on. Okay, sorry. Go ahead or say that part over.
Oh, yeah. So lots of them are recipes. However, it's, I wanted to give very specific recipes and then per age group so that families or anybody was like, okay, For my 6-year-old, they've got allergies. This is what I do. For my 12-year-old, they've got asthma or they've got a cold and flu. This is what I'm going to use. So it's kind of built like that. So I took all of the big concerns. And are all of the health conditions in there? Absolutely not. It wasn't that kind of book. It was the kind of book that all of the kind of the number one things that pop up over and over and over again, that's what this book had addressed.
And that's what people want, because you got to start somewhere. If you give them a big book with everything, that's also overwhelming. But if we
it's
colds
so
and
overwhelming.
flus and cuts and scrapes and stomach aches and headaches,
stomach aches. Yeah. I mean, those are the things we come up against every single day. You're bumping your head, or you need more energy, or you need more stress. And what I also love about that book is it has green cleaning recipes. If you do want to make over your cleaning cabinet, so easy to do it. I make it so easy. If you want to make over some of your personal care items because you're worried about that as well, especially with endocrine and neurochemical disruptors. Right. There's a whole little section there. And then there's the emotional part. There's self-care built into it. It depends on what you're looking for, that little book. It's amazing how much fun stuff can be found in 200 pages of an essential oil book.
Well, and it's cool because I wouldn't have thought of that because of the title being for mommies,
Yeah, and like I said, it's why I always like to go on and tell people, publishers have their idea of what they think a book should be, but ultimately how I wrote it was for anyone who really wanted a non-toxic solution to everyday issues, from cleaning to personal care to medicine cabinet. If someone was tired of going to CVS or Walgreens and they wanted to do it at home, this would be the book they would use.
And then, Mariza, I'm just curious too, did you give these remedies, or the way you put it in that book, are they taking them in liquid? Are they putting it, diffusing it in the air? Are they putting it on their body with a carrier oil? Which way do you use them all?
It used them all. So it depended on what was the path of least resistance. I believe so much about that. What's going to get you the result the fastest? And so a lot of the remedies, like the immune system remedy, or I even have a sleep salve, that you can put on your chest or you can put on the back of your neck. I have a respiratory salve because, you think about vapor rub, it's kind of like an essential oil organic version of a vapor rub, so depending on what was going to be the most effective of actually getting the result that you were looking for, given it was a heartburn or it was, maybe it was some type of constipation or diarrhea issue you were dealing with, those are both topical, right? You want to put them on the area of concern. But if it was, going to sleep at night, if you prefer a going to sleep spray versus a going to sleep diffuser blend versus a going to sleep roller, you could just pick one of the ones that you like. Some parents and some families love to make little sleep sprays for their kids or sleep sprays for themselves because it's super, super easy, right? You just need 2 oils, lavender and cedarwood. You need a little 2-ounce spray bottle with some water, 20 drops of each lavender and cedarwood, and then you just spritz your bedding before going to bed every single night. So there's little things like that. I always want people to feel like they've got some options, but not too many options that they feel overwhelmed by them.
Yeah, I love the sprays and I love the diffuser because that's so easy. You just put it on, especially in my office because it happens to be in my house, and you get sick patients, and then you just diffuse a blend that's very good at killing all the germs, and it smells so nice, and so it covers so many nice things. It's really great.
I love diffusing. I think it's great. You just can't get a tummy ache under control with a diffuser, so I always want people to feel like, okay, and kids, what I love so much about, and I know this is more probably for adults, but I know adults have kids. And, what I love so much about oils for kids is that kids are so receptive. They not only, they respond so beautifully to oils, but they really love it. And we've changed the landscape. We changed the legacy of how we want healthcare for our families by using something like this. When kids grow up and they grew up with oils, well, guess what? They're going to keep using them as adults, and they're going to use them on their kids.
Exactly.
My husband grew up with oils, so when I discovered them for the first time, he was just like, oh yeah. Because his mom was this amazing energy healer. She still is. And he grew up with eucalyptus for for colds. He grew up with tea tree oil for cuts and scrapes and stuff like that. And so it was such a, we brought them into the house, and my husband was like, oh yeah, all of this. I've been doing all of this forever. And so maybe not in college. You kind of probably stepped away from it in college.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're going to find that, you get to change the legacy of how your children are brought up in terms of in the world of healthcare when you leverage these really powerful compounds.
Yeah. And you start planting that seed early, then they get older and get married and they start using it. It's so cool how that works that way. And then they start learning about truly nature's medicine and that we don't need these other things that everyone's running to the store for.
And that are so expensive and expire. Your liver's got to work it out. I mean, you think about, it's just, if we can avoid it, I always say, we always have that as a backup, and we always have doctors and medications as a backup. If you could use and leverage plant-based medicine first as a first line of defense.
For sure.
Then you can always, doctors aren't going anywhere. Hospitals aren't going anywhere. No one's going anywhere. Yeah. But we prefer to use all of this first. Not that you would, for a canker sore, you'd go to Long's or CVS for that. But we just find that there was just no reason to ever have to go to a CVS for anything.
Yeah. And when you have something, let's say like a stomach ache or a constipation, then you probably just put it in a carrier oil and rub it on the belly.
Yeah. So for me, I love rollers. I love roller blends because you can just have it made up. For us, we travel a lot, so it's really nice to have some of these together all the time. So we never leave home without a digestive blend, because gosh knows when you're traveling, you just never know what's going to happen. I feel like every time I get on a plane, my digestive system knows it. And so I have it's basically a little roller blend, and roller balls are 10 mils, which is basically 2 teaspoons of a carrier oil, like grapeseed oil or jojoba oil or fractionated coconut oil. And you can put those into a purse, or you can put them into a backpack. So we just have them marked. We have like a pen that we can mark what the oils are. And basically when it comes to digestive support, you're really just looking at 2 to 3 oils. My go-to oils are ginger, fennel, and peppermint. And I usually do about 8 drops of each in a roller, top it off with whatever carrier oil you prefer. And then you just apply it to that area. I would say if you're really struggling with something, 3 to 4 times a day throughout the day, especially if it's something like food poisoning, minor food poisoning. I think oils are amazing for that. Or even nausea, oils are amazing for that as well.
It's so good. I know. I love I've had the rollers, and I find them helpful because I used to have a lot of headaches, and they're really good for headaches because you can roll it on the back of your neck and in your temples. And it's cleaner. You don't have to put them on your hands. Not that you don't want to, but if you're touching something and you can't wash your hands, or for me, what I always think of, because my cats, they're so strong for my cats. If I put my oils on my hands, they don't want to come near me, because when I pet them, I really got to go wash my hands because it's too potent for them, especially straight. When I'm doing something to put in a sack. So the rollers are nice because they keep your hands clear like that, and you just put them on. But that's a nifty way, and it's true, they're easier to travel like that. Okay, so let's talk now about some women's hormones and your book. And you told us the reason you were inspired to write this because you saw so many women in your practice all having the same issues. So what are the most common issues? And then give us some recipes for those issues.
Absolutely. Well, even recently, we had the opportunity to survey about 10,000 women and really get in depth, which is what were the everyday things. And they may not feel like the biggest emergency, but just the things that really were persistent, right? That they recognize that they would really want to address. And the top 3 things that came up was, one, everybody, I think it must have been like 90% of people was like, I just need more energy. I feel like I have 0 energy throughout the day. I hit a wall. And I would love more energy. That was the first one. Next was they felt very stressed. They felt like every day or several times a week, they felt a bit overwhelmed by everything, all of life's demands and everything that was getting thrown at them. And they felt like they didn't have a real great coping mechanism for that. So they felt like they had a lot of anxiousness around that. And then number 3 was brain fog. Brain fog and cravings. Those were 3 and 4. So brain fog, they felt less productive. They felt like they weren't firing on all cylinders. A big part of that because they felt like they weren't getting enough sleep at night. So having struggle with that wired and tired experience at night, they just weren't getting more than 5 to 6 hours of sleep. And then cravings, because as you can imagine, if you're tired and you're stressed and you got no brain function, you're definitely going to reach for something
Right.
to get it all back. So they felt like they had no willpower. They were like, I just feel like I am a victim of my own biochemistry. They didn't actually use those words, but I feel like you're being hijacked by your body. It's like you don't understand why you even have a craving to begin with, but it all of a sudden just comes out of nowhere. And it's so unrelenting that you end up caving at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the big ones that came up every single time. And there was some other stuff too. Women were like, okay, I'm constantly having neck pain and shoulder pain. That's happening for me. Like that kind of stuff was coming up as well. But I also feel like that has a lot to do with the stress, that we're holding so much tension in that area.
That's women do hold a lot of tension in that shoulder area. They call them tension headaches for a reason, because there's a lot of tension back there in your shoulders that can cause headaches. Time to take a break and get a nice drink of juice or pure distilled water. I know I tell you guys all the time about how important it is to drink pure water. You do know that the only pure water, though, is distilled water, right? Because even filtered or spring water have nanoplastic particles in them. Distilled water is also very detoxifying, and we're not relying on our water for minerals, guys. Remember, the only minerals our body can absorb are ionic minerals, and the minerals we need to get are from our food, because the plants have then processed the minerals. And another way to get minerals, of course, is homeopathic minerals. Minerals are so important, and if you're in need of them, be sure to pick up a reputable company's brand. I use Good State minerals when I'm not feeling like I'm getting enough from my juices or food, but I also use homeopathic minerals, of course, but then I'm a homeopath, so that's easy for me. If you're interested in buying the distiller that I use, you can find it on my website, VidalSpeaks.com, and you can also find the link there to the Good State website, because if you use that link, then it helps support my show, because I get a little bit of a commission, and then they know that you guys found them through my show, and that's always nice. Lastly, thanks for those of you that are sharing the show with your friends. I so appreciate that, along with all of you that are using the Amazon banner on my website. Be sure to do this if you already are using Amazon anyway and you haven't committed to another company. Every little bit helps, because you guys know I do this all for free, and I give away my knowledge, all of my knowledge that I've spent my life savings on to educate myself. So anything you guys can do to help support the show is very much appreciated. You know I love you all. Okay, now back to the show. So what are some of the good oils for those things?
Absolutely. So let's start with energy, because that is such a game change. Now, I do want to preface this with, this isn't necessarily going to help boost mitochondrial function per se. And if anyone didn't know, mitochondria are these beautiful little powerhouses. You have about 1,000 to 2,000 in pretty much every cell, unless it's the brain and the ovaries, where we rock around 10 to 15,000 in those particular areas. But mitochondria are everything. They're the reason why we have energy. There are little energy centers. Now, that is a whole different conversation for a whole different day, but I am obsessed with mitochondria. However, let's just say that you just need that instant energy boost. You got to get yourself back in the game, and you need something quick. You find yourself fading. You find yourself just zombieing through the day. So it's 1 drop of peppermint and 1 drop of wild orange, or any citrus. It could be tangerine, grapefruit, lemon. I love wild orange because it's literally the oil of abundance, and it boosts serotonin levels. And we want those happy neurotransmitters firing. So you just do 1 drop of peppermint on your palms, 1 drop of wild orange on your palms. I already pre-make the blend, so it's always ready for me in a little bottle. You can put it into a roller as well. But you just roll your palms together like that. You can hear me doing it, and taking 2 to 3 deep belly breaths. And the wild orange will shoot right into the brain, will wake you up in that way. But peppermint is also not only a great brain energizer, but it opens up the lungs, and it just brings more oxygen into the brain as well. So that coupled technique like it or not, man, you will go from 0 to 100 in like 10 seconds.
That's so cool. And if they do put the drop directly on the wrist, are they doing it pure oil, or is it also always in a carrier oil?
They can do, it really depends. I personally, because I'm just breathing them in, and your palms are pretty, you think about how rough your palms are. Your palms don't really mind the pure oil, but if you were to make a roller blend, it's just 20 drops of each. So 20 drops of peppermint, 20 drops of wild orange, top it off with a carrier, and that's your instant energy roller. Definitely want that for, kids 12 and under, a roller, so it's diluted. But adults can really get away. Like if you know that you're deciding between a Snickers bar or a donut and a drop of wild orange and peppermint, go full force. Go
straight
full,
on the wrist.
Go full straight on. Yeah. Yeah.
And I know there's some oils you can't do that. I put oils in my bath a lot, and I can't remember which oil it was, but I put the drops in my bath, just dropping them in there, and when I got in, it went up close to my butt, and it like burned it.
So you got to be really mindful. In my Smart Moms book and in the hormone book, I give you a list of what I call warming oils and even cooling oils. Peppermint is a cooling oil, so it is going to be cool to the touch, like wintergreen and eucalyptus, spearmint as well. And that's why I love peppermint for pain and headaches, because it has this cooling sensation that really supports. It's a natural analgesic. But peppermint is also just phenomenal at expanding your airways and waking your booty up. So I think that neat on the palms is okay. But again, if you find you try that for the first time and you're just like, whoa, that's a lot of strength right there, you can always tone it down.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice. And it's the same, I know, with internal, because there's so many books that say don't ever take oils internally, but with pure oils, you can take them internally. But I think my advice is that you don't want to do it unless you kind of know what you're doing.
That's true. And you want to be targeted for why you're doing it. I don't think people should just be drinking oils all the time for no particular reason. But there are specific instances where it really benefits. An oil that I really love for anxiousness and panic attacks is an oil called copaiba. And copaiba, a lot of people have found when they're having a panic attack, 1 drop under the tongue, and you can dilute it. You can pre-dilute it and then do 1 drop under the tongue, but that it really calms down that anxiety response. And that's an instance where if you've got nothing else under your belt and you're in a state of a circumstance where you feel like you need an emergency kind of support system, that is a technique that, I find that hundreds of thousands of people are using with great success.
Wow, that's a good one. I didn't know that. But that's the remedy. I mix it up with another one, so I'm not sure if I'm right. But isn't that the remedy that some women that have weak bladders and they have bladder leakage, is that the one that they rub on their bladder or stomach area and it helps them with the weak bladder? Do you know?
It would be combined with usually juniper berry and lemongrass, so that trio.
Okay, but it is the copaiba and that. Okay, cool. Yeah, because I know on a website I was looking, because that's an oil I didn't have and I wanted to learn about it, and a bunch of the reviews, people were saying how they used it and it stopped bladder leakage.
It's a powerful oil. I use it a lot for inflammation. So I use it a lot for women with endometriosis and PCOS as well, or painful periods. But copaiba, because it's an endocannabinoid, it combines with the CB2 receptors. So it really works with the endocrine system. Not that it doesn't have profound impact on the cardiovascular and the neurological system as well. Hence the response with anxiety. But copaiba is not that I don't love, I think CB oil has its place as well. But if someone's looking for a more cost-effective, more, kind of a guarantee, I really do think that copaiba stands pretty strong in the endocannabinoid realm.
Very cool. Great. Thanks for that. Mm-hmm. Okay, the next one. So what's next?
Okay, so let's talk about stress.
Okay.
How about we just eradicate that right now?
Sounds
Wouldn't that
good.
be great?
Yes,
Let's do
that
it.
would be good.
So there's a lot of oils, and you'll see, that's where we kind of get into that realm of overwhelm. But what's so great about, you'll see that list of 20 oils. Well, the great thing about oils is that they are very synergistic. They work together. They have very similar properties, and so when we're thinking about reducing stress levels, I'm most concerned about reducing stress in the brain, because it's really not the adrenals that are the problem. The adrenals are just the receiver of information. It's this sympathetic overdrive that we constantly trigger into. And that's being driven by a process called the hypothalamic pituitary axis. Basically, information is received in the limbic brain, hits the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus says, oh my gosh, there's a tiger. We got to do something about it. Sends a tiger message to the pituitary gland. The pituitary is like, well, I better go holler at the adrenals, because they're the one who's going to release the cortisol and the adrenaline and the norepinephrine, so that if there is truly a tiger or a mean text message or a traffic jam, or you're in LA traffic, you can respond accordingly. Most of the time, there's never a tiger behind us. So I want to use oils that actually can target the way that we interpret stressful moments, because if that's where I think the core root of the problem is. So there are a couple oils that actually lower serum cortisol levels, lower blood pressure, lower pulse point, and downgrade that HPA axis, that over-triggering of the stress response. So it is two of the oils that I love, that are easy to get your hands on. And if you only use one of the two, it will still really support you. And those two oils are lavender and bergamot. Now, bergamot is a citrus. Technically, it's in the monoterpene family, but bergamot has been researched in multiple studies to lower serum cortisol and to lower the stress response in the brain. So has lavender. And lavender is actually used for anxiety as well. Right. And so I like to make a little blend. It's usually 15 drops of each in a roller, because I like to just have the roller ready. And all you're doing is you top it off with a carrier oil, and you just roll this blend over your palms and do just a couple deep belly breaths. That's really all it is. And those chemical constituents, that powerful chemistry, will literally disrupt the stress response in its tracks.
And that's interesting. Powerful. You roll it on your palms. Is there a reason there and not, say, on your feet or on your wrists?
Because we want to use those aromatic constituents, and it's the easiest way to get those aromatic compounds into the brain. And you could roll it under your nose, but now you've got them, they may get on your lips, and then that doesn't taste good. So it's really activating we want to activate olfaction. We want to activate the olfactory system. And the fastest way to do that is either directly from the bottle or put them on your palms and breathe them in.
So when you put them on your palms, are you doing it all across your whole palm, or a few drops in the middle and then just sniffing your palm?
Well, I find that when you rubbed it together on the palm, it's not just kind of concentrated in one area, so that you have all aspects of the palm that's kind of at your nose. So you're kind of getting it all in. But it really doesn't matter, just as long as you're able to breathe the oils in. That's really why I recommend that technique.
Okay, that's cool. Now, I just have a specific question for what you said, because I've seen, I would say also very much hormonally, but I'm a iridologist, and I can see it in their eye when people have this weakness that you're talking about, this pituitary hypothalamus, but especially the pituitary, which is kind of the master gland. So I'm wondering, is there an oil blend, or would this be the one to enhance the function of the pituitary gland? I've used homeopathics and stuff like this for it, but I'm just curious, in the essential oil world, very specific to pituitary, just to balance it out if it's not working or overworking, what would you recommend?
So the go-to oils for specifically the pituitary, if we have dysfunction in that particular master gland, those are going to be more neurologically driven oils. So frankincense, vetiver, sandalwood, even lavender. Lavender could absolutely be used. Lavender is, a lot of people don't give lavender the credit that it deserves. She's deceptively powerful, that beautiful flower. She does a lot of big work, and that's why she's one of the number one prescribed medications for anxiety in Europe, because she's so powerful. So if you're looking for an all-around Swiss Army knife, I always tell people, if I can only pick 3 oils to have in your cabinet for just overall support, it's usually frankincense, peppermint, and lavender, because they all have a slew of jobs And that combo right there is my headache and migraine combo as well. But they're just so powerful together. So lavender, vetiver, sandalwood, all of those, I would focus more on the pituitary.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I learned about vetiver. I had another essential oil guy on my show when I started my show, and he had brought that oil up, and I had never heard of it. I don't know if I got it. I haven't used it. So talk a little bit about that one.
Absolutely. So vetiver has a really high level of psychoterpenes, and where most people use it is it can be a very natural sedative. We also know that it helps to heal neurological pathways. I use it a lot for sleep and stress as well. Like one of my go-to sleep diffuser remedies to kind of shut off the mental chatter and to ensure you stay asleep is lavender and vetiver, and it's just diffused, usually about 3 to 4 drops of each in a diffuser by the bedside, and I promise you, it's just going to knock you out. So that's a really power combo. But vetiver, we've seen vetiver support people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. We've seen great research in terms of boosting memory, focus, and concentration. So vetiver, it's a fascinating oil. It's a root oil. It comes from the root in the ground. Most of it's grown in Haiti. But it's really, really powerful. So we see it with children I know parents and families use it with children who have ADHD. So just really keeping them focused, that's going to be the oil.
And what about oils? Like my partner has this pain syndrome in his feet, but I don't know that it's a foot problem. That's the issue, because they don't know. It's definitely nerves, but we think it could be coming from like malabsorption in the intestine after 10 years of not having much success. But it also could be, like you said, neurotransmitter imbalances in the brain. But the pain is in the feet, but that doesn't mean you know the cause, like you said, and that's what we've been doing. But what kind of oils are good for that kind of neuropathy or nerve pains?
Copaiba is going to be your number one oil.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Great. And then you just put it in a roller, and can you apply it directly to the bottom of the feet?
Yep, you can absolutely apply it directly to the bottom of the feet, but also if it is a nerve issue, which it sounds like it is, so much pain is oftentimes more neuro than it is anything else.
Right.
1 drop under the tongue 2 to 3 times a day.
Cool. Have to try that. And then what about some other things for the women's hormones? What other oils are good and recipes?
So we talked about sleep. I talked about lavender and vetiver. If you don't have vetiver, I know it's one of those more tropical oils or more not normally. Not a lot of people just don't know about vetiver. Not that it isn't readily available. You can definitely get your hands on it. But cedarwood is a great oil. Roman chamomile is a great oil. Clary sage is a great oil. Those would be my go-to sleep oils. We just keep those all bunched by the bedside. And I just love, for me, I just love to pick and choose what I want to experience at night in my sleep ritual. So it doesn't have to be one particular, like I said, I have a whole chapter devoted to sleep in the hormone book. So in case that's where you want to focus your efforts, I have everything you could possibly want to know about sleep in that particular chapter. But also, what comes up a lot was the cravings I mentioned. Mm-hmm. So I have a blend. It's called my Cravings Be Gone blend. In the Journal of Neurology several years back, a doctor named Dr. Alan Hirsch did a research article on the power of aromatherapy when it comes to peppermint oil and craving suppressants. So what would suppress a craving? And peppermint oil won over and over and over again. Other oils that are great craving suppressors are going to be lemon, grapefruit, cinnamon, and ginger. But I prefer usually what I love about the mints and the citruses, as we talked about before, is they are instant energizers and instant happy boosting oils. So you're kind of you're killing 3 birds with 1 stone all in one. And the thing about a craving is that we know it's an unmet need. We know it's something else. It's not your body actually needing that thing. But a craving usually lasts about 3 minutes. Now, you can do a lot of damage in 3 minutes. You can eat a good chunk of ice cream. You could mow down a donut or 2 in 3 minutes time. I mean, so 3 minutes can really feel like an eternity. But I feel like, especially if your willpower has been sabotaged by stress levels or by the lack of energy that you have, I don't know what necessarily stands in the way between you and that cupcake. I always say, how do we win the cupcake stare down? And honestly, oils are the only thing that I know of right now today that is going to save you in that emergency moment. So I definitely recommend having a Sugar Be Gone blend or a Crave Control blend. And the beautiful thing is that there are millions of women around the world right now using oils to win the cupcake stare down every single day. So my little blend is 10 drops of grapefruit, 10 drops of peppermint, and 5 drops of lemon. And you just top it off. It's a roller. So again, any 10 ml roller, they're available on Amazon and basically you just Google essential oil roller balls and they'll pop up. We get a lot of ours from Amazon. And you just, anytime you feel that craving, come on. So have it at work, have it in your purse, have it in the car before you drive into the Starbucks drive-thru or wherever you're going, the Dunkin' Donuts, I don't know. And just use that oil during that moment. So it should be the thing that you grab for instead of the cupcake or instead of the peanut M&Ms or whatever it is that you fall victim to.
I like that. That's so true, because cravings come and a lot of damage in 3 minutes. That's a good line. What about headaches?
Yes. So a headache blend. Now, I like the combination of peppermint, frankincense, and lavender, as I mentioned before, and I've had a lot of great success. As you can imagine, when I was in practice, a big chunk of my patients were migraine patients because it was something that I was able to heal from myself. It's interesting how you attract what you've struggled with.
Exactly.
No wonder I attract so many women with hormone issues these days. I've lived that for so many years. So headaches can be coming on because of at the end of your luteal cycle, right when your period starts, your hormones just take a massive nosedive. We don't really understand exactly the connection there, but we know that when hormones drop, that we can elicit migraines or we can elicit headaches. We also know that headaches come on for all kinds of reasons. So I do love having a roller because I personally don't want to take Advil or Excedrin or anything like that. Goodness knows my stomach and my liver got torn to pieces when I was younger, when I was downing those things every single day. I really just can't afford to take anything like that again. I've kind of used up all of my ability to do so. So I have a roller, and it's just, it's about 10 drops of peppermint. It's 8 drops of lavender and 8 drops of frankincense. If it's simpler for you, just do 10 drops of each, just to keep the recipe simple. And anytime you feel a headache or any type of pain come on around the neck area, the shoulder area, wherever that headache comes from, maybe it's around the temples, I know they can really vary, just apply that roller over that area of concern. And the frankincense and lavender, all of them are natural analgesics. They decrease inflammation, but they also will help loosen and relax the muscles as well around those nerves.
So it wouldn't really matter if it's a migraine or a tension headache. It still would, the recipe would be the same.
Yeah, cool. That would be the same.
Wow, that's cool. Now, what about anger? Let's say you're in a situation and someone just goes off and they go crazy and you want like a calming down, but it's not. Yeah. Anger is a kind of stress, and you've talked about stress, but would it be different if it's specifically anger?
Absolutely. Well, I have a blend. I call it the Act Right blend. And really what it is it's that moment when somebody comes at you and, really offends you, really upsets you, and you want to reel it in, right? You're feeling angry, you're feeling frustrated, you're in the heat of the moment. And it's at that moment where you're probably going to need, a blend to keep you from tearing their head off, And the thing is people sometimes they accidentally offend you, not always intentionally, or maybe they're coming from a really hurt place. And so, if you want a solution to not get triggered and respond accordingly, I do have a blend that I really love. And the beautiful thing about these oils is that when they work in conjunction, they are designed to just it allows for you to release those negative emotions, to release the stress, to balance the mood. It's not necessarily a forgiveness blend per se. There are oils that are great for forgiveness, but at least this blend will shift your response, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So a 10 ml roller, I do call it the Act Right blend. And basically it's when someone is talking at you sideways, like they're just coming at you in an inappropriate way. So it's a 10 ml roller. It's 10 drops of lavender, 8 drops of bergamot, 7 drops of vetiver, and 4 drops of ylang-ylang. And I'll add them all in there into the roller. And then again, it's about breathing them in aromatically, Anytime you're feeling like you've been triggered, and anytime you felt like you've been triggered, this is a great oil for that.
So it would be a good oil if you're the person that's going off because you're kind of dealing with something happened and triggered you to become angry. But if you're going off on somebody, it sounds like the receiver could use the same blend too.
Absolutely. And then I have a release negative emotions blend. So let's say you have pent up trauma or pent up negative emotions, or you want to move through something. It's just really sticking to you. Sometimes we just don't know how to let something go.
Yeah.
Those kind of trapped negative emotions.
Right.
And transition does this to us. When we doubt our worthiness, this happens to us. So this is my negative release oil. And what I know about some of these oils, like tea tree oil and lemongrass, is that they're emotional cleansers. They've been studied to help us release a lot of that baggage that we're holding on to. So my negative release blend is also another roller. And again, the purpose of this is just to breathe it in. But if you feel like you need to move through something, this is going to be that oil for you. It's 7 drops of bergamot. And the reason for that is bergamot is powerful at boosting neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. But also bergamot is known as the oil of self-love and self-acceptance. So 6 drops of frankincense, 6 drops of lavender, because lavender and frankincense are very safe oils. They're kind of safety. They protect your heart. Lavender is a heart protector. And then 4 drops of lemongrass, because kind of cleanse out that system. And then 3 drops of tea tree, or also known as melaleuca, whatever you like to call it. Mm-hmm. So 3 drops of tea tree. Again, add all the oils to that 10 ml roller, top it off with a carrier, and a roll over pulse points, the palm, the heart, and the temples. And this will help kind of instantly release some of those negative pent-up emotions that you're experiencing.
Wow, that's really helpful. And I love how you make it so simple. This is the problem because over the years, people want to start, but it's too overwhelming. So I really highly want to recommend your books. And are all your books available on Amazon?
They are. All of them are available on Amazon and really anywhere books are sold. Target, Barnes & Nobles, Indie Books, wherever you guys prefer to buy them, they are available there.
Okay, a couple more questions before I let you go because I want you also to tell us your website and stuff like this. But first I want to ask you, is there any body or any condition that people shouldn't use essential oils?
That is a good question. I am not such a good question. The thing about oils, I think about health being a cellular kind of journey. It's about healing the cells. And, there's anytime you're in the journey of wellness, maybe you've got a really serious disease or you're dealing with something pretty big. I still feel that oils can be supportive in terms of emotion. They can be supportive in terms of dealing with things like nausea or maybe sleep or fatigue or stress. And so, in all the years that I've been working with patients, no matter how complex, from fibromyalgia to cancer, whatever that may be, I still feel like oils can really be used as supportive tools while they're really dealing with those big, big conditions. So I really don't know a condition that couldn't use oils to some capacity. They rarely do contraindicate, not to say that they couldn't contraindicate in some instances, but for the most part, they don't.
Yeah, that's been my experience too. But since you use them so much in your practice, I really wondered your opinion on that. So that's good to know. And I just wonder, this question I've had a lot, and I wonder what your answer would be. And there's some oils that you may have, like you just have this affinity for and you love them. But on the other side, there's some oils that you absolutely can't stand the smell of. And I'm wondering what you think it means when you have an extreme aversion to a certain oil smell.
It could be, there's a lot of theories on this. Some people say that if you have an extreme aversion to it, you better use it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That was the other.
Yeah, like geranium is one of those oils. And what I find is when people really hate an oil, for instance, I'll just give geranium as an example. So geranium is not only a powerful hormone support oil, it helps to support estrogen and progesterone levels. It helps the liver process and detoxify estrogen metabolites. So it's great for the adrenals. It's great for the liver. It's great for the skin. Geranium is just a powerhouse.
I love geranium. Oh, gosh, how can you not love it?
So many people hate it. Oh
really?
My gosh, they hate it.
Doesn't it smell like roses?
Well, some people think it's overpowering, right? It's a very powerful smell. But I use geranium a lot in blends. And when I use it in blend, like my Superwoman blend that, thousands of women are using right now, it's my ultimate hormone blend. It's only 5 drops in the whole scheme of things. And even though those who don't even like geranium, love that blend because it blends so beautifully with the rest of the oils.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot of ways where you may hate an oil, but then you blend it up with something else. Like, for instance, I don't like lemongrass, and people go gaga for lemongrass. I am just not a lemongrass girl. But in my negative release blend, which I have made up for myself, that lemongrass, it's really smoothed out. I know how great lemongrass is. I know how wonderful that is for tendon support, cardiovascular support, for thyroid and immune system support. But I just don't like the smell on its own. But when I blend it up with other things, I think it doesn't bother me at all, basically.
That's good advice, actually. The one I have a big aversion to is lang lang, or however you say it. Lang lang.
Yes, lang.
But then I can't even put one of those white lilies, like those Easter lilies, in my house anywhere. It absolutely makes me want to vomit.
And a lot of people think the same thing about a ling-a-lang. Like, it's such a powerful scent. It's such a sweet, pungent smell. Not pungent. It's very sweet. And it's great. It's a libido booster. It boosts testosterone levels. Oh my gosh, it's the game change for women in libido. But I don't like a ling-a-ling on its own personally, because it is so overpowering. But I love a ling-a-ling in my blends. And a ling-a-ling is also a very powerful heart oil. It helps to heal the heart and heal heart, like just trauma. So I love that oil when it's blended up with other things.
Well, I want to buy your book because I want to do more blends, because I've done, 1 or 2, and you have to learn to do it, and then you get more confidence blending them together once you start. So that's what your books are good for, because they give you really simple recipes, 2-3 oils, you put them together, and then when you start doing that, you get confidence that you know how to make your own blends, even if you wanted to.
Absolutely. And they really are so easy to do. You really can't mess it up. And, my blends have all been tested, and I've used them over the years, and I've had great success. You can always feel really confident using the blends. And one thing that really matters to me, what you're going to find is I don't feature 150 oils in my books. I don't think that is a service to anyone. I think that's very much a disservice. Now, yes, if you ask me how many oils I had in my house, yes, I easily have 150 different oils. There's no doubt about it. But to ask me if I use all those oils all the time, absolutely not.
Right.
It's not possible. So in the books, you're going to find that a lot of these oils come up over and over and over again, because I don't think that you need to own 1,000 oils.
Yeah.
You can really get away with 15 or 5 or 10. You really can. And so you're going to find I wouldn't call it redundancy per se, but I was really, really mindful of how many different single oils I used in the books, because I didn't want you to feel like, oh my gosh, these recipes are unattainable. Kind of like when you buy a cooking book for the first time and they've got all these crazy exotic ingredients, you don't even know where to buy them.
Right.
So that mattered to me. I wanted these books to feel very manageable, feel very doable. So you'll find that my sleep remedies, you're going to see the same kind of 5 or 6 oils in different combinations, because the beauty of it is that they all work.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give you some variety. Some people love variety.
Especially with smell, right? You want a variety of different smells.
Yeah. And my husband loves variety. Me, I could just do the same. I could do, if I was going to bed every night, I could literally do lavender and cedarwood every night. Now, I do mix it up because it is kind of fun. I just love the funness of it all, but I don't need a lot of variety in my life like my husband does.
Right.
So that's the beauty. And if you find that there's a blend where you're like, I don't even have that ingredient, just leave it out. Just leave it out. It won't mess the whole thing up.
Well, that's good. And probably my last question, I just want you to think about an oil that we haven't talked about that's maybe more of a rare oil that maybe we haven't heard of and that you've used. And I would like to know about that oil.
Let me think on that. Let me think. What is a rare oil that
I don't even know rare, but maybe not one that,
we haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay. One we haven't mentioned is clary sage. And clary sage isn't a rare oil, although not a lot of people necessarily own it. But clary sage is literally the Beyonce of hormone essential oils. It is the most powerful hormone shifter that we've got. I didn't mention it today, so it just didn't come up. But clary sage, it helps to regulate estrogen and progesterone levels. It's great for regulating stress levels. It's great for menopause symptoms. It's great for menstrual cramps. I mean, my gosh, it is just, like I said, it's like the all-star in the women's hormone space.
And what do we mix it with if we want to do it for that kind of hormone balancing?
Yeah, so I am going to share my Superwoman blend because I think that would be so appropriate at this point. So
Perfect.
I have a blend that's kind of like my all-time, just everything women's hormone blend. And it is 12 drops of clary sage, because I'm leading with that beautiful hormone oil, 10 drops of lavender, 5 drops of cedarwood, 5 drops of geranium, and 4 drops of ylang-ylang. And those oils are really in synergy with one another, are like the perfect hormone blend. So you mix them all up. You mix it into a 10 ml roller. I've got mine sitting right here. And I loved it over the ovaries, so 3 inches below the belly button. I love it on the bottom of the feet, on the ankles, because ankles are kind of that meridian point for the reproductive system. I love it on my neck, because personally I wear it as a perfume, on my wrists. So these are all the places, pulse points, so around the neck, on the wrists. And the cool thing about oils is they're lipophilic, so they will get into the system and they will elicit changes one way or the other. I still believe that if you've got a stomach ache, don't put oils on your knee, because it's not the path of least resistance. But when it comes to hormones, they really are everywhere. So you can put this oil wherever really serves you. A lot of women love it inside the inner arm. They love it on the wrist, but they love it over the ovaries, especially if they're dealing with cramps or anything associated with supporting directly on the reproductive system. So that would be my Superwoman blend.
Okay, and I always say last question, but there's one. Before we go, though, you have to tell us about the importance of buying clean oils. But before that, I want to ask you a question that has to do with hormones, and it's acne.
Yes, acne. I mean, I'd love to get to the core root of what's going on with acne. So looking at your hormones, looking at what's going on with estrogen and progesterone levels are super important, and even testosterone. But oils for acne, I like diluted tea tree oil is a great oil for spot acne as well. And geranium, that's why I love the Superwoman blend so much, is because geranium really helps to support the hormone shifts. And geranium is also great for skin. But I've read so many case studies or women coming back to me that when they're using that Superwoman blend, their skin, their acne really clears up.
So just use the Superwoman blend then. Mm-hmm. That's great. Mm-hmm. Okay, now tell us about the importance of clean oils.
Oh my gosh, that's night and day. If we talked about a lot of solutions today, but I will tell you, you will not get the results. You will not get the solutions you're looking for if you are using adulterated oils. And the only way that you know is you got to go check out the website. You've got to go see, does the company who are making these oils, do they disclose where the oils are coming from? Where are these growers at? Where are the oils being harvested? And then what type of purification testing are they doing? And I mentioned all of the testing in both books. So I'm looking for, at minimum, gas chromatography, mass spectrometry. I'm looking for chirality testing. I'm looking for FERT testing, microbial testing. Do they have literally like sniffers, aromatherapy sniffers on call, like where they're sniffing batches of oils? Those are the types of things that I'm looking for. And let me tell you, if a company is doing all of that work and they're purifying, they're making sure that their oils are pure, they will let you know that they are, because the testing is not cheap. And to go through that level of length, they're going to tell you on the website that they're doing the work.
And I've heard that a lot of the oils from China are filled with a lot of lead and other heavy metals. But I don't know if it's only China. I'm sure it's other places too. So is it important to know if there's heavy metals, or will you ever find that out? And how important is organic versus non-organic?
So it depends. So the thing is a lot of countries around the world do not have organic practices. So it's really hard. Like, for instance, frankincense comes from Somalia and Oman. Even if it says organic frankincense, it can't be, because they don't have the standards. So I don't really believe that there's a such thing as an organic frankincense. What really matters is has that frankincense gone through a battery of tests? has it gone through a battery of purification testing? You know, as a biochemist, I used to purify proteins and DNA, particularly mitochondrial DNA. And so I used to do a lot of the same testing that essential oils go through today. So I know what I'm looking for. But again, the companies should say that it is. I always am leery when people say frankincense is organic, because I know frankincense can't be grown in a country that has organic standards. So it's always really interesting. Yes, I mean, clearly organic is good, but again, like I said, a lot of countries don't have that level of type of standards, and some countries don't even do the type of damage that we do to our plants. They don't spray herbicides and pesticides. I think more so is important is what kind of testing do they go through? And again, those types of testings are looking for any type of impurity. So lead, mercury, all of that is being tested in that. What you're looking for is it's only the oil. It's only those chemical compounds from that plant. That should be the only thing that's in that oil. Anything else is an adulteration.
And do you have like 3 companies that you can recommend that make clean oils, or would you rather not recommend?
So I'd recommend doTERRA, I'd recommend Plant Therapy, and I'm looking into another company as well. I'm forgetting the name at the moment, but those are 2 that I feel confident run a battery of tests on their oils.
Have you heard about Florahana in France?
No, I have not heard of Florahana.
Because I've heard they're very pure oils, and Rosemary Gladstar, she's a famous herbalist, and she had recommended those oils, and I think there's a site in the USA that they sell, but they all come from there, and I think they have very high standards. So that would be one I could at least add to maybe do the research on, you know?
Definitely. And sometimes when it's like a different country, it can be harder to get them over here. That's probably why I hadn't heard of it. But yeah, I mean, if there's going to be a place that's making great oils, France is going to be one of them.
Well, that's cool that Plant Therapy, I did buy a couple oils from them, and I wasn't sure about them. I know doTERRA, I know they're very pure. And so, but I didn't know I did a little bit of research on it, but they had an oil I was looking for that I couldn't find anywhere else. And my sister had done some research on them and told me she was really happy with their oil. So that's good to know. Okay, cool. Well, let's end by you telling us how people can follow your work and your website and what you're doing.
Absolutely. So you can follow me best so my website is drmariza, drmariza.com. I'm on Instagram a lot. A lot of my blends that I mentioned today are in Instagram in my posts. I have these really beautiful images that are beautifully designed, super easy to follow. Just the image alone, you can literally take and make the blend with. And then I do have a podcast myself called the Essentially You podcast, all about helping people become the CEO of their health. So that's another great place to come and check me out. And then the books, as I mentioned before, are on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, Target. I mean, anywhere books are sold, they are available.
Very good. Cool. Well, if you ever want homeopathy on your podcast, give me a call.
Sounds good.
All right, Mariza, thank you so much. It's been very helpful, and I'm sure the listeners are going to get a lot of mileage out of this one. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, you take care. Wow. I really thought that was a productive interview because it was filled with tons of essential oil recipes for everyday things that so many people are struggling with and on a daily basis. Who doesn't have stress or need to sleep better, right? Who can't use relaxing oils in their bath to calm their nervous system down or to stave off that nasty flu that's going around? I love diffusing the oils during the flu season because they're so powerful and they work and they smell so good. I've used them in so many ways and I just love essential oils. So I'm really excited that I could share this with you guys today. You can do so many things with them. You can heal with them. You can clean with them. You can make your house smell great and you can even eat them. What's there not to love about essential oils then, right? Every day we're dealing with so many issues in life, and this time of year so many people are sick, and these epidemics of flus going around and all these nasty bugs that start going around, and people just work too much, they sleep too little, they have no time to do the things they really love, and guess what? That's a recipe for stress and for disaster, of course. and in the long run, for sickness. But sometimes you just can't believe how easy it can be to turn things around and to feel better. It takes a simple routine and a simple book of how to start, and then things can happen. So I really want you guys to try these oils. I've loved them for years, and I was so inspired to hear Mariza's story, and I loved her recipes. I'm going to have to listen to this podcast over again with my pen and paper because I want to write those down. I make my own face cream and I put my essential oils in there. And whatever mood I'm in, I put those oils in there and it smells so lovely. Actually, it smells so good that it makes me want to put my face cream on at night, unlike in the old days before I did that. So that's a good thing. So you guys, you have to do yourself a favor and you have to ask for a couple of Mariza Snyder's books for a gift, maybe along with a couple oils and a diffuser. And if you're a woman with hormone issues, you got to get her new book, the Essential Oil Hormones book, and then you're ready to start feeling better. Well, you guys, I think that's enough for today. I've sure missed you guys, and I love it, though, when you comment on my YouTube channel about these podcasts or you send me an email to let me know that you've enjoyed the show. So thanks to all of you that have done that. That really means a lot. Every person that I've helped makes me feel like I've made a difference, one by one, city by city, country by country, and soon the whole planet, you guys. You know that's my wish. I want to do all I can to help everyone enjoy this life. And you know what? When you're sick, it means you're not free to do what you want. And that's like being in jail to me. We all need to help our poor planet too. So let's keep doing our good work. I love you guys, but I'm sure that you know what time it is, right? Yep, it's time to say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed the show today, though, my podcast family, and I'll see you guys soon. And we're going to have another nice conversation the next time right here around my table. Ta-ta for now. Until next time, be sure to try 3 different oil recipes and relax, enjoy, or even sleep better, or all of them. Vidal has spoken. Remember, you heal with a plant-powered diet, homeopathy, and detoxing, of course. Peace. Be healthy. Be free. Live life.